In recent years, talks of aliens, UFOs, and UAPs have become more and more common in the mainstream. We're even having official government hearings about the topic, which would have been unheard of just a decade ago. And I believe it's important, now more than ever, to bring our focus to the nature of these entities. Are they merely physical beings from a planet far, far away, with technology so advanced it makes intergalactic travel something trivial? Or are they spiritual beings that materialize in and out of existence? Why do they appear in some people's dreams? Why do they appear during meditation? And why would they ever appear under the influence of DMT? In this video, we're going to look at some first-hand examples of people that have made contact with these entities through various means. We're also going to take historical accounts of contact that seems very similar to what's reported on DMT trips, and we're going to see if we can get any closer to an answer about what all these entities really are. So first is a DMT trip report of a user that was literally abducted after smoking DMT. Let's get right into it, and I'll see you on the other side. The first time it happened, I was in my apartment by myself and away from friends, family, all of that. I did it sitting in a pretty comfortable gaming chair that I got for Christmas one year, which was set up in my room. I was able to get around 3 very long, big hits when it happened. It wasn't really like being shot out of a cannon into hyperspace or anything like that, but something different. It was more. Well, it was, in fact, a teleportation. I was teleported into an alien spaceship compartment flying through space. I don't mean like it was kind of like an alien spaceship or that I thought it was an alien spaceship. No, it was an alien spaceship. There were not colors everywhere, or it wasn't like traveling through hyperspace or anything that had happened to me in the past. This was so real, so detailed. It was so detailed in every way. It was like I was really there. In a spaceship. It was reality. I wasn't dreaming, tripping, or anything like that. I was actually there. The entire time I sat there not being able to move, but just gazing in amazement, I felt a presence. I felt an alien presence above me, like they were watching me, observing me, like they were talking to me telepathically, communicating with me through thought, trying to show me things, or perhaps they were trying to experiment with me. I was so afraid, confused, yet amazed at the same time. It seemed like I was there for almost an hour, and maybe I was. My perception of time was out of the window. My mind was in shock. The last thing I remember while being in that spaceship is a strong telepathic signal from one of the aliens that triggered something inside of me. I was able to look down at my legs, my arms, and see my bones twisting and turning, my hair building thicker and thicker. I was turning into a monkey. It was so real. I just can't stress that enough. I was totally freaking out when everything suddenly teleported back to my room, back to my reality. However, though, the hyperspace, the aliens had left. I was still tripping hard. Everything around me was twisting and turning. My bones would still twist and turn if I looked at them long enough. When I looked in the mirror, I looked like I was an alien. Everything was just off, and it was so intense. That lasted for at least 30 minutes or so, which eventually faded. As I laid in my bed, not being able to stop thinking, not being able to sleep, my entire body, mind, and spirit was in awe. The next day, I told my roommate everything that happened, and he, like myself, were always fascinated by DMT and always joked about alien life forms and conspiracy theories and junk. However, he was very afraid of actually going to the places that was described as the DMT hyperspace. And as much as he enjoyed reading and understanding the drug, he would not do it. He wasn't ready. After a long discussion on what I had experienced, I was actually convinced that I was contacted with a very intelligent alien life form through DMT. I had this crazy theory, like the aliens knew I had DMT and they were trying to contact me and show me things while I could see them when my third eye was activated. Crazy, right? Anyways, my friend said I should try it again tonight and see if I have a similar experience. I concluded that I would in fact try it once again later that night. I did it in the same place, around the same time with the same dose. Everything around me began to change. It was so alien, so unbelievable. I could see energy coming up my body, telepathic communications all through in and throughout my body, energy shifting around me like life as I know it, showing me that there is so much more than the simple physical realm of fantasy that I live in. I was being told instantly that aliens were in fact very real, and I knew they were now. I knew that if this is happening right now, right here, then there is no way they are not real. It was so unexplainable, so intense, so real. It was nothing I have ever heard throughout readings on the internet or books about the drug. I was out of control. Life was out of control. I was in the middle of another transportation, except it was so much more intense. Right before my eyes, I left the physical realm. I was able to look down and see once again my bones twisting and turning everywhere, my hair growing. I look up to scream, but it was too late. My head is thrown back as my spirit and brain is transformed into pure energy. I am now flowing through a network of systems, and I am one with the aliens. I am what they are. I am super intelligent. I know all the secrets of the world. Bam! Just like that, constant super intelligent information is transmitted into my brain by the aliens who are energy like me. It all comes to me. The ultimate understanding rhythms of the human conspiracy about life's deepest concepts can be broken into by the journey to an intergalactic hyperspace of universes. Enduring into these worlds will produce realities of self-inflicted fantasies. However they are real, your body is at peace while your spirit is trying to leave and show you extraordinary things. Your mind will learn what your spirit has learned, and in the end, your ultimate individuality will grow as a force here on the planet Earth. Noisy sensations of parallel feelings towards distinction, triumph, and immortality like realities slam our brains from every single, most exact dimensional layers according to the most advanced properties of physics. They were playing with me, laughing at me, showing me their world, explaining the many secrets of alien life and the many secrets of the physical realm I had been living on. I knew everything. I knew that I knew it was right. I still think it might be right. I am one with everyone. I am the universe. I can produce 1,000,000 words into actuality at once, and so can they. It was the most beautiful world of colors and life. Fairies and aliens, ghosts and angels. It was everything. It was the spiritual realm of existence. And they loved me so much. They told me so much. And they told me that I could come back whenever I wanted, and to bring as many friends as possible, because they will show them everything too. When I finally started to come back to reality, I wasn't afraid about anything anymore. I didn't question life anymore. And this is because I actually believed that I was just taught all of the secrets of the world. Right before I left the spiritual world, I was enhanced with a supercharge of energy, allowing me to have the most intense mind expansion anyone had ever imagined. I could create and do anything in my mind and see it like it was happening. I had a rush of euphoria, more intense than the greatest LSD and mushroom euphoria put together by 1,000,000. I still was in touch with the aliens, but I could not see them. Not physically, that is. This feeling lasted for at least an additional 40 to 50 minutes after the heaven that I had just felt. I smiled, looking down at a text from my roommate, who had been staying at his girlfriend's that week. "Well, what happened, man? How did it go? Did you see the aliens again?" I didn't even respond. I didn't have to, because I knew that the physical realm was nothing more than an illusion. I knew that the spiritual realm, the infinite realm, was and would always be the more beautiful and more intelligent realm. I knew this because the aliens knew this. I was filled with the greatest feeling I've ever felt. It was the greatest experience I had ever experienced. It was better than anything real, better than anything here. I then knew to myself that I had become addicted. Physically, no, but my mental mysticism and desire was so intensely obsessed about what was going on. For the remainder of the night, I listened to some trance techno for a few hours, and then I fell asleep like a baby. And remembering having some very intense trips with memories of seeing aliens while I was asleep. When I awoke, my roommate had come and he was so curious, so concerned about what had happened. I remember his exact words. "Dude, what the hell happened last night, man? Look at this crazy text you sent me." I looked at his phone and smiled, even though I should have been freaked out. It was a text from me that said, "We have shown your friend everything he needs to know. We want you too." I don't remember texting that at all. My friend was starting to worry and kind of freak out. "What's going on, man? Is this really happening? Are these things really happening to you, or are you messing with me?" I looked down, now confused again. Is this real? Do I even know what real is anymore? What's happening to me? I think I'm either actually discovering the secrets of the world or slowly slipping into insanity. Oh my. That night, I sat there looking at it, looking at the DMT, loaded in the pipe, ready to go. What should I do? I thought. I have to get back to where I was. They told me I could go back whenever I wanted. It was decided. I did it in the same place around the same time with the same dose. Energy began to flow like before. Alien telepathic communications were strong. I began to look up and close my eyes, only to be shot back into that mystical alien spaceship I was in before. I was on one of those machines that carry stuff like in a factory, being rolled through some kind of processor data analyzer machine, seeing the aliens all around me, looking down at me, angry. They were so intimidating, angry, upset, mad at me, but I didn't know why. I wasn't in the beautiful place they had taken me before, but I was in a more physical realm, but different dimension. They were just looking at me, sucking all of the intelligence out of me that they had given me before, angry at me for some reason. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I did. I didn't understand. I was shot out of the spaceship quicker than normal and back to sort of my reality, except my body was once again changing as I looked at it. My hands were completely monkey, along with big hairy arms. I felt like I was actually a monkey, and I thought I began to scream like a monkey. I felt lost. I felt like part of my brain was crazy, and I was no longer super intelligent. There was also no more strong, intense euphoria like before. What had happened? Why? No! After I was completely down, I began to rethink reality and what has happened to me in the last week. Perhaps it was time for me to leave the substance alone for a while. I need a week or so to settle down, think about what has happened, try and figure out what's going on. I needed help, I thought, not from a doctor. I wasn't completely crazy yet. I am still in touch with my own reality, but I'm very well beginning to question reality like no other time in my life. I feel as though that I have broken through to another level of DMT, that I've went to a level past DMT and made contact with the other side, like they had connected to me. The things that had been happening to me were nothing like a drug, nothing like LSD or anything like it could ever do what this has done, not even close. This substance was something else, a key to our chemical structure, a key to our DNA. The key to life. I thought that I had been living in a science fiction horror movie and that I was quite possibly on the edge of going insane. I just don't know what to think about all of this. I want to start off by saying that the term DMT Entities is sort of misleading. I believe that DMT is simply facilitating a conscious experience and that there are many ways to have that experience. That is, an altered state of consciousness. But regardless of how many different ways it can be done, they all seem to take you to the same place, right? With many people reporting seeing the very same types of entities. So no, I don't think these entities are unique to DMT or exist in some DMT world. I think DMT, among other things, simply alters our consciousness and opens us up to perceive a much larger world with its own inhabitants, which, depending on the cultural context, have been called DMT entities, aliens, or even demons. But we'll save that last one for an entirely different video. All right, so let's get back to the aliens. You know, this trip report, it brought up so many questions about the DMT experience for me. Look, I've done over 100 trips myself, and although each experience was wildly different, they all had the same flavor, right? Massive expanses of fractal shapes moving in a kaleidoscopic formation, jarring and sometimes indescribable figures and energy patterns, complex and highly detailed entities, both big and small. However, none of them had me seeing actual gray aliens. So I decided to do a little research and see if anybody else has made contact with them on DMT. And what I found blew my mind. It was the most mind-shattering thing that I've ever seen on DMT. There was little or no feeling of flying through hyperspace you get at the start. Everything just went to black, and I appeared in a room. There were 3 standing in front of me. One in the middle was wearing a sweet, red cloak robe thing with a really high collar, and I instantly felt like this guy had some authority. There were no fractals. Everything was crisp, HD, realer than real. I felt so stunned and awestruck to where I couldn't think of anything other than, holy aliens. They didn't do much though. It felt like they were assessing me for a bit, and then I got sent back. I could now open my eyes again, but I felt like a puppet with someone else pulling my strings for a few minutes. Very weird. I would love to experience it again. I have seen the Greys. Next to me and through a portal where we sort of touched hands. I was floating in the ether. A beautiful blue blob floated up to me and wrapped itself around me and moved me to a portal where I could see another world, brick buildings, etc. I was looking up, but these 2 Greys were walking by, dressed even, and the younger one saw me and reached down. I reached up, and I could feel a tingle of his fingers, like 2 physical objects occupying the same space, but in different dimensions. All open-eyed. It was a fun one. Upon breaking through, I was greeted by small Greys, messages of love and remarks on my beauty. I remember shaking their hands and asking what I looked like to them. They giggled and showed me my form. Then, as if looking into a mirror, a nervous system with an eyeball at the brain's center was shown to me. It was perfect symmetry through and through. Since then, I cannot help but recognize people as anything more than wires and a brain. Then, a taller Grey, the Overlord, appeared through the crowd. He seemed displeased to see me. He said to me, "Why are you here? Go back to your reality. You come here too often." I responded, "I seek knowledge in the pursuit of peace and development of my fellow man. I'm weak. I need help, so I come here to learn." It swayed its head back and formed a grin on its face. Raising its hand, it snapped its fingers and said, "Well, all right, buckle up. This is going to be intense." Blow by blow, the visuals came with a rapid intensity I'd never seen before. Then I awoke on my bed, amazed. Now look, it's easy to dismiss these experiences as mere hallucinations, influenced by our exposure to alien-based content in pop culture. But what if these encounters have been happening long before aliens ever became part of our modern society, part of our culture? What if cultures throughout history have been making contact with these same entities, not through television or movies, but through altered states of consciousness? Take Graham Hancock's research as a starting point. He argues that people across the world, through the use of psychedelics like DMT and ayahuasca, have encountered similar beings for millennia. He draws comparisons between modern DMT experiences and shamanic traditions in indigenous cultures where altered states were the key to accessing these hidden realms, like whether it's the San people of southern Africa with their night-long rhythmic dancing, the Amazonian shamans using ayahuasca, or the Siberian shamans ingesting mushrooms to contact spiritual entities. These practices all point to the idea that accessing non-ordinary reality is not new. And look, this isn't just speculation. So Graham Hancock has this book, Supernatural, right? Supernatural Meetings with the Ancient Teachers of Mankind. And he dives into his own experiences with ayahuasca in the Amazon rainforest. Now, during these ceremonies, he encountered serpent-like beings that communicated profound messages about humanity's origin and destiny. These encounters led him to believe that substances like DMT don't just create hallucinations, they open doors to real, unseen realms inhabited by intelligent, otherworldly beings. And this also aligns with the ancient shamanic traditions where, for thousands of years, shamans have reported meeting spiritual entities such as ancestral spirits, nature spirits, deities, and beings of light. This all suggests a universal human experience, deeply rooted in our consciousness. You see, people have been seeing things. People have been seeing beings for a very, very long time. For example, like the cave paintings from ancient cultures in Europe, Africa, and Australia, they all provide this visual proof that these types of experiences have been occurring for tens of thousands of years. The Tassili Najir caves, right, in Algeria, forgive my pronunciation, right, but these date back to around 9,000 through 6,000 BCE, and they feature elongated, alien-like beings and strange humanoid shapes that closely resemble these modern accounts of seeing these entities during these DMT trip reports. Also in the Chauvet cave in France, with paintings estimated to be around 30 to 32,000 years old, depict these otherworldly and abstract forms. Now, Hancock suggests that early humans, much like today, accessed altered states of consciousness through natural psychedelics, and these paintings are a reflection of their encounters with these otherworldly beings, these aliens, these entities. The parallels between the modern DMT experiences and the ancient shamanic visions hint at something really big here. Perhaps we're tapping into the same spiritual realm that humans have been accessing for millennia. So these examples aren't just limited to history, okay? Look, even today we see examples like the Gateway experience from the Moreau Institute, for example, all right? So the Gateway experience is a meditation program started by Robert Monroe, okay, and it utilizes like binaural beats and isochronic tones, and what this does is it lowers your brainwave frequencies and syncs both hemispheres, a process that they call hemisync. Now, I've been doing this myself for about 2 years now, and yeah, on a handful of occasions, I've gotten glimpses of them. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish, like, is it just a face? Is it a blob that I'm thinking is a gray or whatever? But there was one time where contact and communication was made, and they said to me, "Welcome, youngster." It was trippy as hell. But what's happening here in the Gateway experience is you're quite literally tuning your brain or your consciousness, right, to a different channel. Other people who use the Gateway tapes, they report experience out-of-body states and encounters as well, including grays. They see them. It's within these altered brainwave channels that these encounters take place. Right? This is a modern example of how shifting consciousness can lead to contact with these entities. The key word being consciousness. All right, let's take a look at some of the reports of what users of the Gateway experience have seen. I saw a spaceship and people working inside. Some were grays, some were gray humanoid looking, and some were humanoid. Everyone seemed almost drone-like. At one point, a little gray humanoid looked directly into my direction, almost like he could see me observing, and I got spooked and stopped the meditation. When I did my next meditation, I saw an image of a gray alien looking straight at me, and then I stopped. Midway through the tape, I saw a tall gray alien come into my vision, much similar to the way I saw a mantid earlier in 2019. There was a sort of two-dimensional screen at a specific depth of my vision along a Z-axis that at first the being was coming in and out of, so I could only see parts of them at first until I focused on him. It was a tall gray, and he instantly struck fear and terror into me and wanted me to know that was exactly his intention. It wanted to scare me and screw up my meditation and throw me off my game. This was a really striking experience. I've done transcendental meditation for years and have never had something so strange or fear-inducing, which leads me to believe it was not just a projection of my mind. I quickly took off the headphones and opened my eyes and just kind of laid there for the rest of the morning in fear, trying to calm down my heart rate. I didn't do the tape for a couple of months after that. So if people are contacting these beings through various methods, be it psychedelics, meditation, or other spiritual practices, and the common thread is a shift in consciousness, this raises a much bigger question. Where do these entities exist? I think that ancient cultures provide a possible framework for understanding this other world, right, that could be inhabited by aliens. Now let's take a look at some of these examples. The Duat in ancient Egyptian mythology, it's a mystical realm of the dead where gods, spirits, and entities interact with the souls of the deceased. Egyptians believed that this realm was as real as the physical world, yet its laws were entirely different, hinting at the existence of other dimensions. Dreamtime in Aboriginal Australian culture describes a parallel reality existing beyond time and space, where ancestral beings continue to reside. This realm is accessible through spiritual practices and is filled with entities who created and continue to interact with the world. In Vedic Hinduism, the lokas are layers of existence ranging from physical to spiritual planes. Through meditation and spiritual discipline, sages could access these realms and communicate with gods and celestial beings. These lokas offer a vision of the universe, where different beings exist on different planes, interacting with those who can access them. And the astral plane. The astral plane, as described in theosophy and esoteric traditions, is a vast, unseen dimension parallel to our physical reality. It's inhabited by various beings, from elemental spirits to human thought forms, all of which can interact with us when we enter altered states of consciousness. I did a deep dive on this topic before, and you can check it out in my video, Is the Strongest Psychedelic a Door to the Astral Plane? I'll leave the link in the bio and a card here in the top corner of the video. But anyway, all of these examples, they point to the possibility of this shared spiritual realm, a space that exists outside of our normal perception, but one that humans can access through altered states. It's here that the question becomes, are these beings from other dimensions or planes of existence, like the astral plane, which we can only perceive when our consciousness shifts? And if so, how do they interact with us? These frameworks like the Duat, Dreamtime, Locus, and the astral plane, they give us a map for understanding the nature of these beings and where they might come from. They suggest that rather than traveling like across space, these entities exist in a dimension that overlaps with ours, and they interact with us by manipulating their own density, lowering it to the point where they can manifest into our physical reality, which could explain why they seem to defy the laws of physics as we know them. Could it be that these beings, whether they're called gods, spirits, or aliens, are all part of the same broader reality? A reality that isn't centered on material existence, but on consciousness itself. It makes me wonder, is there a framework where such a concept is even possible? And I think that the Hermetists have an answer. So, in the Hermetic tradition, as explained in the Kabbalion, the foundational principle is all is mind, okay? All is mind, everything is mental. This means that everything we experience, physical or non-physical, exists within the universal mind, an infinite field of consciousness. The material world, spiritual realms, and everything in between are all varying degrees of density within this field. Everything, including these entities, is a manifestation of consciousness itself. As above, so below. One of the key Hermetic maxims, it implies that the processes we observe in our own minds reflect those in the larger universe. So could it be that these entities we encounter on DMT or during meditation or even in alien abduction reports are just different manifestations within this conscious reality? Now, if we entertain this framework, then it raises another question. Are these encounters simply us tuning in to different levels of consciousness, or we can call them mental frequencies, as we did with the gateway experience? Are we just catching glimpses of beings that have always been there, waiting to interact with us as we shift our consciousness? Could this explain the parallels between ancient gods, modern aliens, and spiritual beings? Look, guys, the implication of such a reality are massive. If everything is consciousness, then our interaction with these entities isn't just happening in some distant galaxy or physical dimension. It's happening through the very fabric of our minds. And if that's true, then consciousness itself becomes the gateway to understanding the true nature of our existence and the beings that we encounter. Okay, let's wrap this up. Look, guys, I know that was a lot of information, and at times it may have seemed all over the place. So let's quickly recap the line of logic here, okay? DMT experiences, grays. Encounter experiences, grays. The gateway experience, grays. Look, this suggests that the alien experience is one based on altered states of consciousness. That's what all three have in common. See, it's a conscious experience. That could mean a couple of things, all right? It could mean that, yes, aliens are in fact physical beings who are also able to meditate and communicate with us through conscious means. Hell, who knows? Maybe they're using the gateway experience as well. But that's very possible, all jokes aside. But it is also possible that these are actually non-physical yet conscious beings. And I believe that being spiritual in nature, yes, being spiritual beings, could be the best candidate. One thing is for certain, okay, without a shadow of a doubt, they are part of our reality, somewhere in our DNA, whether it's in our wiring or our psyche. There's a reason why we keep making contact with these entities. The question is, what is their origin and where do they exist? The possibilities are endless. I've given you the framework for one possibility, that they just might be spiritual in nature. But the fact is, the possibilities are so much more. Remember, these alien grays are just one type of entity that we've spoken about here in this video. When we broaden it out, they're just one slice of a much, much bigger pie of non-human intelligence. So, where do these aliens fit in? I don't have an answer for you. All I know is that these are the questions, especially in the times that we're living in now, that we ought to be asking. Thanks, you guys, and I will see you in the next video. So, hey guys, check it out. As I was finishing the video, I remembered that I had my own personal sort of trip report, my own encounter with a gray. I totally forgot about it, but it was during the one time that I took San Pedro, okay? I made a tea out of the San Pedro cactus, all right? The active ingredient in San Pedro is mescaline, which is the same, I believe, as in peyote. Anyway, and I remember getting a vision as clear as day. It was me standing next to a tall gray, all right? And we were overlooking this sort of sunset at the top of this cliff, and we're standing side by side, just sort of observing. Now, mind you, we weren't on Earth, we were on a different planet. And I remember for some reason having to justify the existence of human beings to this alien. And I remember saying something to him like, what did I say? I said something like, yes, we screw up, we're inefficient, and we make a lot of mistakes, you know, as humans. But that's exactly what makes us beautiful. The alien sort of tilted its head. It looked at me, and that was that.